Ketanji Brown Jackson is confirmed to the Supreme Court on a 53-47 vote. So we will talk just a bit about what's going on with that and, well, what that means. And I am probably going to say something that's going to get me taken off of YouTube. So be here for that. In other news, Nancy Pelosi has now tested positive for the COVID-19, spokesperson says. So more and more high-profile people are coming up with it, more and more. Gee, I wonder why. We will be doing some of the Hunter Biden stuff. So emails from Hunter Biden's laptop shows that Joe Biden wrote a letter of recommendation, and Hunter also had well over 150 plus transactions that involved his father. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on with that. And the Sacramento shooters are arrested, and it's gang violence. So don't worry, We don't have to hear about it anymore. It is going to be all this and more. You're just mad you can't date me? I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, Edheads. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar, and we have got a lot to get to today. It's a Friday, and we have live chat today. I painstakingly, well, not that painstakingly, except for the fact that Restream's client takes forever to populate, but I painstakingly sat down and wrote down everybody's name from the past week here to come back and say thank you. Thank you very much for coming in, joining us here, and chatting with us in the live chat here. So if you chatted in the live chat, which we even had some new names, like Fritzcast was here yesterday. Thank you, and at the end of the program today, we will get your name in here. So go and tell some friends and get some more people in here. I want to see 15 people today. So do you guys have 15 friends you can come back in here and have them come in and have the conversation and say some spicy stuff that might get us thrown off? Fuck, I might get us thrown off here today. So check out the backup channels as well. DLive, Twitch, Rumble, if we get over onto that one there. Go and check all those back out. Because, yeah, I am so fed up with what Ketanji Brown Jackson stands for. And not necessarily what she herself stands for, because outside of the kiddie porn stuff, judicially, I mean, she's not as activist as somebody they could have put up. Like I said from the top, I don't know that I would have had that big of a problem with her if it wasn't for that thing surfacing that, I mean, we all knew was going to surface. And I look back on this now, and you know the White House knew about this thing. Ketanji Brown Jackson was a dare. We dare you to try to deny the seat to the historic first black woman ever in history. And we're going to talk about that too, because that's also not true. So it's going to be all this and more over on Contemporary. Guys, make sure you guys are checking us out over on all the other platforms. And also check out the new upcoming webpage that we are getting ready to build. And that is going to be turnsofpagersproductions.com. Once we get launched, that is going to be your one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs. We are set and ready to carry great shows such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The Porch Boys, The Already Conservative. We have our friend Britt, who, whatever project she puts up next, will be featured on the website, so definitely go and check that out. Plus, we have a new show that's a surprise show that's going to be, it's a well-established show, and they're going to be joining us as well, coming off from the start. So definitely go and check that out, turnsofpagersproductions.com. Come in here, hang out with all the people, and if you are in the know, I don't know, I think Brian's going to flake on me here, but I think we're going to start publicizing this anyway, because we've got to get it done. I was going to wait for the dramatic start out to go do this, but because of the government name, I was hesitant to do so until I came out and revealed that to the public, because it says campaign created by Jay Edgar. Funds from this campaign will be received by... Still not ready to say that out on the air yet. But I didn't want people to come out here, see the government name, and say, who the hell is this guy? Because most of you don't know what that was. But if you guys want to go check that out, givesendgo.com/turnsofpages101 to come and help us out. Help us get started. We're looking to raise about $2,000 to make sure our friend Bobby Joe gets paid, and we can start getting the website out here, getting articles out here, getting things ready to go, and help give you news from the common man for the common man. So go and check that out, givesendgo.com/turnsofpages101. All right, let's get into the finance for the morning here, starting with the Dow, which is at 34,583.57. That took an up day yesterday after spending most of the day in the toilet. It started to claw its way back up towards the end of the day. We will be discussing what happened there and what IBD had to say about that, so we will get into that as we go. Your Bitcoin is down over midnight to now, 138.50 US dollars, down 0.32% to 43,313 US dollars and 60 US cents. So a little bit of it was a down day throughout the day yesterday. It didn't even come back and crack even again, but looking in at this, it's been steady. It doesn't go up huge, it doesn't go down huge, it just kind of sits there right now. So we will see what happens with that. Your scrap metal prices continue to be on the rise everywhere. Aluminum siding is the only main metal that we see that is down. Our aluminum prices are up, our steel prices are up, our copper prices are up day over day. Oh, I do take that back. Number 2 tubing and insulated copper wire has also dropped throughout the day, but not enough to bring down the average of copper throughout the national averages here. Looking in car and truck batteries have also dropped here. All catalytic converters have dropped off the market. We don't have a mixed market on those anymore. Compressors are up. Alternators are up. Carbide is up. Hard drives are up. Motherboards, power supplies, low-grade boards are all up, along with PC tower as well, which means, hey, it sounds to me like they're getting ready to go back and start selling a bunch of computers too. So watch for that and watch for the prices to come out of that. We will see what happens with that. Let's see what IBD has to say for the morning. From Investors Business Daily, Dow futures rise with market rally at key levels. Tesla's Musk parties in Austin, but Shanghai still shut. From Ed Carson, Dow futures rose modestly early Friday with S&P 500 futures and NASDAQ futures. Tesla held a Cyber Rodeo grand opening event Thursday at its Austin plant. The stock market rally tested key support levels Thursday morning as Treasury yields continue to climb amid hawkish Federal Reserve statements, but the major indices rebounded to close slightly higher. Investors should be paying attention to sectors that are working, but be cautious about new purchases overall. Exxon, Lockheed, Horizon Therapeutics, Dollar General, and O'Reilly are 5 stocks in the leading sectors that are in or near buy points. Tesla is on the IBD leaderboard. Tesla and HZNP are on the IBD 50. Exxon stock is on a big cap 20, a list dominated by energy and commodity plays right now. O'Reilly was Thursday's IBD stock of the day. Must be a lot of people out there going and buying stuff and fixing their vehicles again. On your futures, Dow futures were 0.4% above fair value. S&P 500 futures advanced 0.3%, and NASDAQ 100 futures climbed 0.3%. The 10-year yield rose 3 points to 2.68%. Crude oil prices advanced just slightly. Remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. So that's what we see coming out of IBD. A brief one today, but something for the foods markets for you. And this is probably going to be something we do need to pay attention to because eggs are on like everything nowadays. All of your baked goods, this affects all of most of your breakfast foods. A lot of your breaded stuff has egg with it. So eggs are in everything. Basically, unless you're getting steak and broccoli out of the grocery store. It at least somewhere tangentially touched an egg. So we'll see what happens off of that. But let's read here from CNN Business. Deadly avian flu sends egg prices soaring, from Danielle Wiener-Bronner. A deadly and highly infectious avian flu is forcing U.S. farmers to kill millions of egg-laying hens, reducing the country's egg supply and driving up prices. On Thursday, retailers paid between $2.80 and $2.89 for a dozen grade A white eggs in the Midwest, according to USDA's daily Midwest Regional Egg Report. That's more than double the roughly $1.25 they cost in March. Fuck! Because I buy them 18 at a time because I eat so many of them, especially when I was on keto. I ate a lot of eggs when I was on keto. I don't think I ever paid more than $1.89 for the 18-pack. Anywhere. $2.89 for a dozen is ridiculous. And I understand it's supply and demand, but that is unheard of. according to data compiled by Brian Ernest, lead protein industry analyst at CoBank, which provides financial services to agribusiness. Typically, large white eggs in that region cost somewhere between $70 and $1.10 per dozen, said Ernest, who noted that Midwest prices serve as the national benchmark around Easter. When demand is high, these prices can reach about $2, he said, far lower than they were on Thursday. These higher feed costs and supply chain difficulties have made many food items more expensive this year, and eggs are no exception, but this particular spike is being driven by the highly pathogenic avian influenza that has been detected in flocks across the country, Ernest noted. It's the worst U.S. outbreak of the bird flu since 2015. Though the flu is deadly for poultry, it's primarily an animal health issue, according to CDC, which added that it believes that the risk to the general public's health from the current H5N1 bird flu viruses is low. Because the flu is so contagious and deadly to birds, the USDA protocol is to kill infected flocks to curb the spread of the disease. In Iowa, the nation's leading egg producer, we currently have more than a dozen sites impacted by the disease, including 3 facilities where hens lay eggs, said Chloe Carson, comms director for the Iowa Department of Agriculture. As a result, we've had to depopulate 11.2 million laying hens out of the about 56 million laying hens in Iowa overall, she said. This particular strain of the flu is being spread by wild migratory birds, Carson explained. The migration season typically lasts from March to May, she noted. As long as the migration patterns continue, there is a risk for disease to continue to be introduced into our domestic populations, Carson said. Although wholesale egg prices are spiking, that doesn't mean supermarkets are passing those costs on to consumers, explained Ernest. Retailers often will take a loss on eggs to draw in-store traffic, he said. Generally around Easter or Christmas, when people are more likely to bake, we see a reduced price on shelf for eggs. So rather than raising prices, some stores appear to be dealing with the higher cost by eliminating their egg promotions. Retail promotional activity was very limited and offered little incentive for shoppers to buy beyond immediate needs, according to the USDA's weekly egg markets overview, published last Friday. Eventually, however, the prices are likely to go up. I would expect we're going to see at least 30 or 40% premium on top typical prices through the summer months this year as a result of tighter supply, Ernest said. He also noted that even before the flu was detected in the U.S. earlier this year, the number of egg-laying hens was relatively low. And frozen or dry egg inventories are down significantly from what they typically are, he said. That could mean we will have some egg shortages later this year. So, and again, tangentially, your direct price for eggs is going to go up, obviously, but tangentially, anything frozen or breaded, for the most part, unless it is marked as vegan, usually has egg as the binder for the breading. Anything egg-based, anything that's breakfast-based, your McDonald's sandwich, your Taco Bell breakfast taco, which sounds really good right now, your baked goods, your breads. Well, some of your breads have egg. Some of them don't, but some of them do. Anything, the brownies, the Little Debbie in there, all that has egg in there. So this is one that touches a large part of the food market, and that expect all of your, not all, a lot of your food prices to go up with this. So this is one to watch. This is one to pay attention to, and we will see what happens with this. So that's where we go with that. That's what we see coming out of that. Man, that looks delicious. That looks like what I should be eating this weekend right there. All right. Let's get into what it is that we have to get into here. Starting this morning with a video from the recount by our wonderful, intelligent, amazing, graceful Vice President.
On this vote, the yeas are 53, the nays are 47, and this nomination is confirmed. On this vote, the yeas.
So with that, we see what we knew was coming already. Reading from the Associated Press, Jackson confirming. This is where I'm going to start getting in trouble with YouTube. Jackson confirmed as first black female high court justice. From Mary Claire Jelanic. And really, honestly, I put it out and I felt it might have been a little bit spicy for the position at the time, but I put it out in the tweet that, I mean, we might as well not even call her by her name because that's not what she was nominated for. Let's be serious about this. You might as well, when you discuss the Supreme Court, oh, Justice Kagan? Oh, yes, Justice Kagan. Oh, Justice Sotomayor? Oh, yes, Justice Sotomayor. Justice Barrett? Oh, yes, Justice Barrett. Justice Thomas? Justice Thomas. Justice Roberts. The indefinable Justice Roberts. We don't know where he's going to go. Oh, well, Justice Kavanaugh. Oh, yes. He loves the philanderers of girls his own age when he's in high school. Oh, yes, that Justice Roberts. Oh, yes. Justice Thomas. Oh, and yes, black woman. Because that's what she's there for. And we'll get into some of that as we go on to that, but that is what she's there for. Oh, yes, black woman, come over here. You've added so much diversity to our court. Follow me in the other platforms, people. From Mary Claire Jelanic and Mark Sherman. The Senate confirmed Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court on Thursday, shattering a historic barrier by securing her place as the first black female justice and giving President Biden a bipartisan endorsement for his promised effort to diversify the high court. That paragraph right there says essentially what I said in a less crude manner. Yes, we have all these wonderful justices. Justice Gorsuch, yes. He's sitting right over there next to black women. Cheers rang out in the Senate chamber as Jackson, a 51-year-old appeals court judge with 9 years' experience on the federal bench, was confirmed 53-47, mostly along party lines, but with 3 Republican votes. Presiding over the vote was Vice President Kamala Harris, also the first black woman to reach her high office. Except the fact that she's not black, she's Asian. Excuse me, I'm speaking. Biden's staffer tweeted afterward that, we've taken another step towards making our highest court reflect the diversity of America. Chuck U. Schumer exalted that as it's a wonderful day, a joyous day, an inspiring day for the Senate, for the Supreme Court, for the United States of America. Harris said as she left the Capitol that she was overjoyed, deeply moved. Jackson will take her seat when Justice Breyer retires this summer, solidifying the liberal wing of the 6-3 conservative-dominated court, because they have to put that in there too. Because it's not about the interpretation of the Constitution, it's about whether they support left-wing or right-wing causes, just ask the Associated Press. She joined Biden at the White House to watch the vote, embracing it as it came in. The two were expected to speak along with Harris at the White House on Friday. During 4 days of Senate hearings last month, Jackson spoke of her parents' struggles through racial segregation and said that her path was clearer than theirs as a black American after the enactment of the civil rights laws. She attended Harvard University, served as a public defender, worked in a private law firm, and was appointed as a member of the U.S. Sentencing Commission.
Under the previous order, all post-cloture time has expired. The question occurs on the nomination of Ketanji Brown Jackson of the District of Columbia to be an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States.
I ask for the yeas and nays.
Is there a sufficient second? There is, and certainly appears to be, a sufficient second. The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Baldwin. Aye. Ms. Baldwin, aye. Mr. Barrasso. No. Mr. Barrasso,
By the way, that Miss Baldwin there is my senator, Tammy Baldwin.
no. Mr. Bennett.
On this vote, the yeas are 53, the nays are 47, and this nomination is confirmed. Under the previous order, the motion to reconsider is considered made and laid upon the table, and the President will immediately be notified of the Senate's action.
Madam President, very happily, I note the absence of a quorum.
Boy, look at the fucking smug on that dumb bastard. I can't stand Chuck U. Schumer. That's why he gets the U for a middle initial instead of I think Fanning told us, what was it? It's X, Xavier is his middle name? I don't know. Chuck U sounds even better. She told senators that she would apply the law without fear or favor and pushed back on Republican attempts to portray her as too lenient on criminals that she had sentenced. And again, a dare. I hate to say it, but that was a dare. Jackson will be the third black justice after Thurgood Marshall and Clarence Thomas, and the sixth woman. She will join three other women, Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and Amy Coney Barrett, meaning that 4 of the 9 justices will be women for the first time in history. So stunning. So brave. Her eventual elevation to the court will be a respite for Democrats who fought 3 bruising battles over President Trump's nominees and watched Republicans cement a conservative majority in the final. Oh my God, the editorial on this. Wow. Of Trump's term with a Barrett confirmation. While Jackson won't change the balance, she will secure a legacy on the court for Biden to fulfill his 2020 campaign pledge to nominate the first black female justice. And again, I'm sorry, but given that aspect of the entire thing, you might as well just come out and when you call her, don't call her by her name. And I'm not saying this to be racial by any stretch of the imagination, because Joe Biden and his Edmund did this for us. Because that's what the AP focuses on, that's what NBC focuses on, that's what ABC 7 that we'll be reading from later on today focus on. That's what everybody who is involved with this focuses on. The black woman that's now a justice. It's so historic. A black woman. A black woman, I'm telling you, it's a black woman. The Democrats have not changed from the days of slavery. They don't see what's inside of these people. They see a vote that's supposed to be lockstep. And we'll talk about that with the one that they denied that wouldn't have been lockstep for them too, by the way. Because that's coming up as well. Let's read one from ABC 7. Out of Denver, Ketanji Brown Jackson will wait months before being sworn in as Supreme Court Justice. Well, don't you know? If Justice Breyer, if he was so serious about racial justice, he would just step down right now and let her take her place. Don't you know? Why? Why is he staying on there? Does he want to preserve the white supremacy? No, wait, no, he's a Democrat. We don't say that about him. This comes to ABC 7 from Scripps National. Nearly a day after Jackson was confirmed as the new Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, Biden and Harris will deliver remarks on the historic event. Jackson will serve as the first black woman on the Supreme Court this year. Jackson will serve. She's replacing Justice Breyer in late June or July. Usually, Supreme Court justices are sworn in nearly immediately after being confirmed. Barrett was sworn in after a confirmation when she replaced Ruth Bader Ginsburg after her death. Kavanaugh was also sworn in immediately after replacing Kennedy, who retired at the end of the term but didn't announce his retirement before the term ended. In this case, Breyer gave plenty of notice of his retirement, which also gave Democrats plenty of time to fill the vacancy. Brandon is expected to sign Jackson's judicial commission in 3 months. That's when she will be sworn in to sit on the Supreme Court. Well, that must mean that Breyer is a racist. Breyer must be a racist, you guys, because he won't just step out of the way and let strong, empowered black woman go sit on the Supreme Court immediately. So strong, so stunning, so brave. And like I said, honestly, full on out. The thing that bothers me about Justice Jackson is the fact that it was a dare. Now, and I tweeted this out the other day. If you don't think for a half of a second that the White House didn't know that there was going to be something coming out about her record, about sentencing Kitty Diddlers, you do not have the common intelligence to hold a vote. They knew that that was there. And they knew that was going to come out to right-wing media. Hell, I would not be surprised to find out that some low-level staffer walked that information over to the Washington Free Beacon and Breitbart to go make sure that they got the story. Like, hey, look, this nominee that Biden put up there, hey, she has history of low sentencing for child predators. You better get out there, make sure your voters are outraged about this. This was a dare. And that is the reason that I said, at the moment that she was nominated, bypass all the pageantry, bypass everything else, have your floor vote the next day. Biden nominates her on Monday, because I think it was on a Monday too. Biden drops the nomination on a Monday, have the vote on Tuesday. 100-0. Well, at the time, because they had the guy out with a stroke, it would have been 99-0. 99-0. Vote her in, get her done, because this was a... Hey, we dare you to vote against strong, empowered black women in an election year. But that's what we see coming out of that. Some other clips to go with this. And bad takes, of course. Keith Boykin tweets out, "Imagine being Black Republican Senator Tim Scott, voting against the historic nomination of the first black woman to the Supreme Court while 3 of your white Republican colleagues vote for her." Which, I mean, sounds to me very, very racist. Because, hey, as far as I know, skin color does not determine values. Except I think Keith Boykin believes that it is. And yep, Duckhawk, who is stands with Ukraine, no visible profile picture, so you can't see who he is. 232 followers, says, "All skin folk ain't kin folk." With who do we have here? Ben Carson, Tim Scott, Kanye West, Clarence Thomas, and actually I don't recognize who that one is. I know who the other 4 are. I don't know who number 5 is up in the upper right-hand corner. To which I came back and replied, "Imagine being so racist you believe skin color denotes values." And HBCU poli-sci actually brings up a good point too. If Tim Scott disagreed with her legal philosophy, majority of his Republican colleagues voting no, should Tim Scott have voted yes because she is black? So, should black folks in Georgia vote for Herschel Walker because he's black, even if they disagree with his politics? No, because he's not actually black, because he has an R next to his name. And he's endorsed by the evil orange man. So he's not actually black, he just kind of looks like it. Until they need him to go vote for something, and then he'll suddenly be black again. Maybe another black nominee. Then he'll suddenly be black again. Alright, what else do we have here? From Brian, says Janice Rogers Brown was never nominated to be on the Supreme Court. Fox News knows this, and they know that their viewers don't. So let's listen to, I can't believe I'm going to say these words, let's listen to Jesse Waters, because, I mean, that is actually worth discussing. Waters, but Democrats also blocked who would have been the first black woman on the Supreme Court, Janice Rogers Brown.
I'll appreciate. But Democrats also blocked who would have been the first black woman on the Supreme Court, Janice Rogers Brown, when Bush tried to elevate her because she was a Republican. So their intentions aren't pure. I'll appreciate. But Democrats also blocked who would have been.
And it's interesting to note. So, by technicality, both people here in this little thread here are correct. Asen and Waters, obviously, and then Brian, both are technically correct. Janice Rogers Brown was not nominated to the Supreme Court. She was bypassed because a certain, and I can't think of the guy's name, but a certain senator from Delaware blocked her nomination. Said he would threaten to he would filibuster her, and they didn't have the votes to get by a filibuster. He said that he would filibuster her if she was nominated. Who was that senator from Delaware? What was his name, by the way, I wonder, that threatened to filibuster who would have been the first historic, strong black woman on the Supreme Court? But Brian is also technically correct because she was never nominated. They bypassed her because of the fact that they knew that there would be a filibuster on that. Because, and this is the worst part of this, this is part of the reason that there was the scramble to get Kamala Harris into this position that she was in. A position she is supremely not qualified for either, by the way, because there were fears and there were talks about the first woman vice president, about the first woman president, coming from the Republican side. They'd hurry up and get Barack Obama in, who was also severely not qualified for his position. Because there were talks, there were the Tim Scotts that were rising up through the ranks of the party. There were the Ben Carsons. Ben Carson didn't run until after Barack Obama. But they had to get all the historic firsts have to come out of Democrats. Otherwise, they can't come back out and say Republicans are the real racists and sexists. Yeah, who was that? Who was that senator from Delaware that threatened to filibuster Janice Rogers Brown? Who could that be? I can't think of his name. Come to think of it, I don't think he can think of his name either right now unless he gets the cue card. That would have been our great president, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. So, that's what we see out of that. Alright, now let's talk about the after party from the Daily Wire. Let's get some music up here too, shall we? Very quiet in here. Ducey asks Saki why Justice Jackson event shouldn't be called a super spreader. Well, for starters, because nobody should use that word because it is painfully fucking cringy, but let's actually hear Ducey out and hear what he has to say. This is from Virginia Kruta. Fox News White House correspondent Peter Ducey asked Press Secretary Red-Haired Bobblehead why a scheduled event to celebrate Justice... Has it already been 2 weeks? Holy shit, it has. Since Red-Haired Bobblehead's scheduled trip to Europe. Man, I thought we had more time without her. Peter Ducey asked Press Secretary Red-Haired Bobblehead why a scheduled event to celebrate Judge Jackson's confirmation shouldn't be considered a stupid spreader event. Let's listen. Let's just listen to this. And Aaron Rupar, of course. Jen Psaki explained CDC guidance to Peter Ducey like he's a toddler.
How can you guys guys say that President Biden was not a close contact with Speaker Pelosi when there is video of the Speaker kissing him?
Well, Peter, the way that it is defined is by the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, and their definition of it is 15 minutes of contact within a set period of time and within 6 feet. It did not meet that bar. It does not mean that that no one will get COVID around the world who does not have a close contact. It just means we are defining for all of you whether the president and their interaction met the definition of the CDC of a close contact.
How much closer do you want to get? And then Rupar goes on and, Ducey asked Psaki if the admin is concerned. The event to commemorate Jackson's confirmation will be a super spreader event like Amy Coney Barrett one was.
When the last president wanted to host a big event for a Supreme Court nominee here at the White House, some folks got COVID, and then former Vice President Biden called it a super spreader event. So is there any risk that this event tomorrow for a Biden Supreme Court justice is going to be a super spreader event?
Well, one, at that point in time, vaccines weren't available. People were not vaccinated. It certainly puts us in a different space. This event is also going to be outside tomorrow.
That's funny. Because the only people that are popping up as testing positive, being publicized right now, for getting the pinko fucking pox, red-haired bobblehead herself, Nancy Pelosi, Shifty Adam Schiff, Merrick Garland, Nancy Pelosi, I think I said Nancy Pelosi already. Aren't those people all already vaccinated? So would this not still be a stupid spreader event? Ducey also asked President's recent contact with Nancy Pelosi, who tested positive, after attending several recent events with the President. So I don't know if this is going to be the same clip as what this one was or not, but let's listen to this one.
Guests, it will be an outside event, and we'll be marking it in that way. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. How can you guys say that President Biden was not a close contact with Speaker Pelosi when there is video of the Speaker kissing him?
Well, Peter, the way that it is defined is by the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, and their definition of it is 15 minutes of contact within a set period of time and within 6 feet. It did not meet that bar. It does not mean that that no one will get COVID around the world who does not have a close contact. It just means we are defining for all of you whether the president and their interaction met the definition of the CDC of a close contact.
Half the cabinet was there on Tuesday, at least two.
And again, how much closer do you want to get? That's the question there, because like they were in a full embrace with a kiss on the cheek. We'll see the video as we go down onto this. How much closer? Seeing those two wrinkled skin bags both coming together and having that embrace is disturbing enough, but how much closer? Like, we were told throughout the entirety of the pinko fucking pox pandemic that even stepping outside during the pandemic was too dangerous unless you were an essential worker, unless you were a frontline worker trying to ensure the supply chain or work in the hospital or work in medical. You couldn't even leave your house to go get groceries unless you were in a fucking hazmat suit. And now they're saying it's 15 minutes of contact within a set period of time. Fuck you. Alright, and as promised, I don't know, we'll be talking about that later. We've got to talk some Putin stuff here. I say as promised, and then we go back and talk about something else instead. From the Hill. Senate votes 100-0 to limit trade with Russia, ban oil imports. If the Senate votes 100-0 on something, it is going to fuck you. Just so you know. So look for your supply chains to go back up, all your prices to go up, and again, this may be a way to come back and cover for the fact that we're probably going to see 8 to 9% inflation coming up in this particular term. From Jordan Carney. The Senate on Thursday unanimously passed a package to end normal trade relations with Russia and Belarus and codify the admin's ban on Russian oil imports, capping off weeks of negotiations that had stalled in the legislation. Senators voted 100-0 on two bills. The first ends permanent normal trade relations with Russia and Belarus. The bill also reauthorizes the Magnitsky Act, sanctions that target human rights violations and corruption, with penalties like visa bans or asset freezes. The second bill, which also passed 100-0, codifies the Biden admin's ban on Russian oil imports. Boy, it sure sounds to me like Senator Paul is not being very libertarian lately because, usually the LP is throw those fucking borders open and just trade with whoever, government be damned. I have questions about this, especially given the fact that Rand Paul is in the Senate. I have a lot of questions about this. Because the Senate made changes to both bills, they do need to be passed by the House before they go back to the President's desk. The House is expected to pass the bills on Thursday, a day after the Senate announced on Wednesday night that it had reached a final deal. No nation whose military is committing war crimes deserves free trade status with the U.S. No vile thug like Putin deserves to stand as an equal with leaders of the free world. Senate Majority Leader Chuck U. Schumer said ahead of the votes. Senators were under pressure to reach an agreement before they leave town on Thursday for a 2-week break as Russia continues its weeks-long bloody invasion of Ukraine, Hong Kong. The pressure only grew this week after photos emerged over the weekend of the destruction of Bucha, a town northwest of Ukraine's capital, including images of people lying dead in the streets and mass graves, triggering widespread condemnation. Biden said that he believed Russia committed war crimes, while Schumer went further, saying it was genocide and Mr. Putin is guilty of it. I'm glad you guys sucked up the wartime propaganda, but I'm sad that you sucked up the wartime propaganda while in control of the motherfucking military. No, they're not saying that, Randy. Schumer's not saying that. Don't be fucking silly. Schumer's definitely not saying that. Let's see. The trade bill passed the House on March 17th, while the bill to codify the Biden admin's oil ban passed on March 9th. I just want to look at this for a second. Nope, that's the Hill. I've been trying to find the actual text of these bills since yesterday. But they faced headwinds in the Senate as negotiators faced several potential sticking points. The most high-profile hurdle was a days-long negotiation with Rand Paul over reauthorizing the Magnitsky Act sanctions, which is riding on the trade bill. The House changed the Magnitsky Act language from targeting gross human rights violations to targeting serious human rights violations, codifying a Trump-era executive order. Negotiators had appeared to cut a deal with Paul last week, but indicated as recently as Tuesday that they were still haggling over the language. In the end, the Senate deal sticks with the original Magnitsky Act language currently in law instead of updating it. As part of the deal to get the votes on a Russia package today, the Senate also passed bipartisan legislation on Wednesday night to establish a Lend-Lease program for Ukraine, which that's the next article, make it easier to send military aid to the country. Yes, essentially what we did with Britain when they ran out of money. Thank you, Seawall, for bringing that up to me. Otherwise, I would have passed right over that. So that's what we see off of that. And again, if the Senate votes 100-0 on anything, you can bet it's going to hit you in the wallet. Belarus was used as a staging point to get troops into Kiev. That's why. Do we need to get the map? Don't make me tap the screen. So because Belarus is technically actually Russia at this point, they're so intertwined and allied that they are so pretty much so much a point of Russian culture They might as well be Russia, but they are an independent country. They were using Belarus, this area right here, this region, as a staging ground for the military that ultimately came in and took Chernihiv, Zhytomyr, a little bit into Lusk, and a little bit into Lviv, but essentially to get what's surrounded Kiev. They have been a key player in this entire thing because of their proximity to Kiev. I'm sorry. I'm not saying this properly for the New Age language here. Kiev! Yeah, Russia itself, either through the Crimean Peninsula or their own proper land here, took the Luhansk, Donetsk, and Mariupol, and Zaporizhzhia. But as far as Belarus went, they were the ones who were in charge of what happened with Kiev and also Chernobyl and Chernihiv. So that's why they're being treated harshly for this. Let's read from Politico. In the fight against Putin, Senate unanimously approves measure that once helped beat Hitler. Boy, that's propagandistic in and of itself. From Andrew Desiderio. The Senate unanimously passed major legislation late Wednesday to revive a World War II-era program, allowing President Brandon to more effectively send weapons and other supplies to Ukraine amid Russia's bloody invasion. Senators quickly rallied behind the proposal known as Lend-Lease, as Ukraine's military proved it could fend off Russian troops who had been shelling Ukrainian cities and towns since late February. The Lend-Lease program, created during World War II, was seen as a game-changer in the conflict as it allowed the U.S. to quickly resupply allies without the time-consuming procedural hurdles. Lawmakers are resorting to extraordinary tactics, last used during the most significant global conflict of the 20th century. Yet another sign that the U.S. and its allies in Europe believe Russia's invasion presents an existential threat to liberal order. No, it's not a liberal order, okay? We're going to set up a new world order. It's also an indication that the Western world believes Ukraine can now win the fight against the Russian invaders. Congress recently approved nearly $14 billion of military and humanitarian assistance for Ukraine, with probably $13 billion of that going into one of the major defense contractors that these senators and congresspeople have stock in, which means that we just made them richer by sending other people over to die. Some of which has already been doled out. On Tuesday, the State Department announced an additional $100 million of funding for Javelin missiles and other material, bringing the total security assistance to $1.7 billion since Russia invaded on February 24th. The necessity of resupplying Ukraine's armed forces took on greater urgency in recent days as the brutality of Russia's war was further exposed, with lawmakers reacting swiftly to urgent pleas from Volodymyr Zelensky in particular. You know, Volodymyr Zelensky, Saint Volodymyr, the patron saint of war, the one who could never do anything wrong, the one who is uncorruptible and uncorrupted. Volodymyr Zelensky, that one. Horrific images emerged from the town of Bucha last weekend, showing civilians laying dead in the streets with their hands tied behind their backs, prompting Western leaders to amplify their allegations of war crimes. Yes. Totally not propagandistic in any capacity. Totally not propagandistic while the president of the country has begged U.S. troops every single day since February 24th to put their boots on the ground. Oh, look how much more horrible this is coming into. In a brief speech on the Senate floor Wednesday night, Majority Leader Chuck Schumer called the massacre pure evil, adding that Russian troops are carrying out genocide in Ukraine. When we murder wantonly innocent civilians because of who they are, whether it be their religion, their race, or their nationality, that is genocide, okay? Now do Iraq and Saudi Arabia, and Afghanistan for that matter. And Mr. Putin is guilty of it, Schumer said. Do Syria while you're at it, too, by the way. The Ukrainian Democracy Defense Lend-Lease Act of 2022, as it's known, would expedite the transfer of critical military equipment and other critical supplies to Ukraine by cutting bureaucratic red tape. It allows for the de facto gifting of equipment, with provisions stipulating that recipient countries would repay the U.S. at a later date. Oh, that's funny. Repay the U.S. at a later date. That's funny. No, the U.S. went out and bought a bunch of new, shiny, millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars worth of toys, billions of dollars, I should say, of toys. They bought that out of your coffers. That's never going to get paid back. And Lockheed Martin just got fucking richer. Paid back at a later date. That's funny. That's funny shit right there. So there you go. Lend-Lease is happening again. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh shit, you're serious. You actually believe that? Fuck, that's funnier. Alright, what else do we have here? As promised when we were talking about Ketanji Brown Jackson, Nancy Pelosi tests positive for the pinko fucking pox, spokesman says. From Annie Grayer and Claire Ferran. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, the Crypt Keeper, has tested positive for the pinko fucking pox, a spokesman for the California Democrats said on Thursday. After testing negative this week, Speaker Pelosi received a positive test result for the pinko fucking pox and is currently asymptomatic, Pelosi's Deputy Chief of Staff Drew Hamill tweeted. The Speaker is fully vaccinated and boosted and is thankful for the robust protection the vaccine has provided. Yeah, I'm sure the adrenochrome is also keeping her health up and her immune system up a little bit too. Pelosi, the top House Democrat, is 82 years old. As the Speaker of the House, Pelosi is the second in line in presidential succession behind the Vice President. Man, if that doesn't scare the shit out of you. Hamill announced Pelosi's positive test result just before Pelosi was scheduled to give have her weekly news conference with reporters, which was canceled. He also said a planned congressional delegation to Asia, to be led by Pelosi over the 2-week congressional break, will be postponed to a later date. Hamill said Pelosi is currently asymptomatic. He added that Pelosi tested negative earlier this week. Pelosi was at the White House on Wednesday, seen next to President Brandon, as he signed a law in a sweeping bill that overhauls the U.S. Postal Service's finances and allows the agency to modernize its service. The House physician told CNN that attendees Wednesday had to have a negative test within 24 hours of the postal event. And yet, somehow, it seems to have gotten through, because it seems to be that a large portion of the people there were the ones that got it. The White House said Biden was not considered a close contact to Pelosi. Yes, not a close contact. The White House also said that Biden tested negative Wednesday night as part of a regularly scheduled testing, that Biden will continue to be tested regularly. Catherine Clark of Mass, who also serves as the Assistant House Democratic Leader, Joaquin Castro of Texas, Greg Meeks of New York, Adam Schiff of California, Derek Kilmer of Washington, Debbie Wasserman Schultz of Florida, and Scott Peters of California all announced their positive test results this week. And it is now a little bit less than 7 months until Election Day. With all these people in the highest of profiles testing positive for the commie fucking coup. In conjunction with the fact that there was just a new postal bill signed to make sure that the post office can carry a large volume of mail in 7 months. Do you think that's an accident? I don't. I think Ron is right. I think Ron's going down the same direction that I am. I think they're trying real hard to create another mail-in election with this virus. Honk honk. Alright, but that's what we see coming off of that. And more Doocy time. I think we've seen this video already. But it's still funny. You know what? Let's watch it again.
Yes, it will be an outside event, and we'll be marking it in that way. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. How can you guys say that President Biden was not a close contact with Speaker Pelosi when there is video of the speaker kissing him?
Well, Peter, the way that it is defined is by the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, and their definition of it is 15 minutes of contact within a set period of time and within 6 feet. It did not meet that bar. It does not mean that that no one will get COVID around the world who does not have a close contact. It just means we are defining for all of you whether the president and their interaction met the definition of the CDC of a close contact.
Half the cabinet was there on Tuesday, at least.
So yeah, that's it doesn't fit the definition because it's Democrats. But if you ever visit your grandma for half a second, you're going to kill grandma. Nothing bad happened in the 2020 election. Hong Kong, most secure election in history. 10 scoops of ice cream, 81 million votes. Ron Helton. Perfectly secure election. Hong Kong, nothing bad happened. Most popular president in history, even more popular than Barack Obama. I won't have this slander in my live chat. Hong Kong. Archive from Reuters, Elon Musk's arrival stirs fear among some Twitter employees. From Sheila Dang. Look, and I said this yesterday, I don't really care who owns Twitter. I don't care who's on the board of directors. I don't care who owns stock in Twitter. Except for the fact that all the reaction that's coming out of this is really fucking funny. Like, it's ridiculous how funny it is. News of Tesla chief executive Elon Musk taking a board seat at Twitter has some Twitter employees panicking over the future of the social media firm's ability to moderate contact. Company insiders told Reuters, "Oh, if he's on the board, then we might not be able to censor the people that we don't like." Within hours of the surprise disclosure this week that Musk, a self-described free speech absolutist, acquired enough shares to become the top Twitter shareholder, political conservatives began flooding social media with the calls for the return of Trump. The former U.S. president was banned from Facebook and Twitter after he was deemed not politically necessary anymore for their stock options. Now that Elon Musk is Twitter's largest shareholder, it's time that we lift up political censorship. Oh, and bring back Trump, tweeted Lauren Boebert on Monday. Despite Twitter's reiteration this week that the board does not make policy decisions, 4 Twitter employees who spoke with Reuters said that they were concerned about Musk's ability to influence the company's policies on abusive users and harmful content. With Musk on the board, the employees say his views on moderation could weaken years-long efforts to make Twitter a place of strictly left-wing discourse and allow trolling and mob attacks to flourish. In the wake of Trump's ban from Facebook and Twitter, the billionaire tweeted that many people would be unhappy with U.S. tech companies acting as the de facto arbiter of free speech. Musk has not articulated what he wants to do as a new board member, but he telegraphed his intentions with his Twitter activity a week before Musk disclosed a 9.1% stake in Twitter. He polled his 80 million followers on whether the site adhered to the principle of free speech, and the majority voted no. The employees, who asked not to be named for fear of retribution, point to Musk's history of using Twitter to attack critics. In 2018, Musk came under fire for accusing a British diver who had helped rescue children trapped in a cave in Thailand of being a pedophile. Musk won a defamation case brought by the diver in 2019. Well, was he a pedophile then? Is that what happened? I don't know about... I actually have no idea anything about that case. But they're panicking. They're scared. They don't get to come out and be the arbiters of who gets to talk and who gets to be the untouchable, the unwashed. But realistically, here's what's actually going on here. Elon Musk tweets out, Twitter's next board meeting is going to be lit. Do I follow Elon? Yes, I do. Which is good, because he is hilarious. And again, I don't really care who owns Twitter. I don't care that he's on the board of directors. I care about the meltdown. The meltdown is hilarious. The meltdown is hilarious. From the Associated Press. This is an interesting story. U.S. 2 posed as agents gave gifts to Secret Service officers. From Michael Balsamo. Federal prosecutors on Wednesday charged 2 men they say were posing as federal agents, giving free apartments and other gifts to U.S. Secret Service agents, including one who worked on the First Lady's security detail. The 2 men, Aryan Taherzadeh, 40, and Haider Ali, 36, were taken into custody as more than a dozen FBI agents charged into a luxury apartment building in the southeast Washington on Wednesday evening. Prosecutors alleged that Taherzadeh and Ali had falsely claimed to work for the Department of Homeland Security and work on a special task force investigating gang and violence connected to the January 6th Selfie Fest. They alleged the 2 posed as law enforcement officers to integrate with the actual federal agents. Taherzadeh is accused of providing Secret Service officers and agents with rent-free apartments, including a penthouse, worth over $40,000 a year, along with iPhones, surveillance systems, a drone, flat-screen television, a generator, a gun case, and other policing tools, according to the court documents. He also offered to let them use the black GMC SUV that he identified as an official government vehicle. Prosecutors say in one instance, Taherzadeh offered to purchase a $2,000 assault rifle for a Secret Service agent who was assigned to protect the First Lady. Prosecutors say the 4 Secret Service employees were placed on leave earlier this week as part of the investigation. The plot unraveled when the U.S. Postal Inspection Service began investigating an assault involving a mail carrier at the apartment building, and the men identified themselves as being part of a phony Homeland Security unit they called the U.S. Special Police Investigation Unit. Prosecutors say the men had also set up surveillance in the building. They had been telling residents that they could access any of their cell phones at any time. The residents also told investigators they believed the men had access to their personal information. Taherzadeh and Ali were scheduled to appear in court on Thursday. It was not immediately clear if they had told lawyers who would comment, who could comment on the allegations. And this is the weirdest part of all of this. Authorities did not detail what, if anything, the men were aiming to accomplish by posing as law enforcement officers or by providing the gifts. Prosecutors said the investigation remains ongoing. So nobody seems to know why they did this. And the only thing that I can think of is to show how insecure the government in and of itself is. Which is why the people that were involved in this, for all intents and purposes, got sacked. And they did, by the way. They definitely got sacked. And then those in charge of doing the sacking also got sacked. No idea. Nobody has any idea. It's funny. It's funny. It definitely is. From the Daily Wire. The criminal investigation into Hunter Biden is heating up. Here's what you need to know from Cabot Phillips. The federal government's criminal investigation into Joe Biden's son, Hunter, is reportedly gaining steam as prosecutors begin seeking a key grand jury testimony. New information appears to indicate the president himself may be linked to the son's scheme. Yes, but as soon as he does become linked to the son's scheme, a certain Mr. Garland, who is owed a favor by the Brandon administration, is going to look the other way. In 2018, the DOJ launched a criminal investigation into Hunter Biden that centered on potential money laundering, tax fraud, the violation of foreign lobbying laws, and more. At the center of the investigation was whether Hunter used his father's position in the government over the last decade to secure millions of dollars in fraudulent overseas business deals. Evidence appears to show Hunter flaunted access to his father as a means of securing meetings and permits. Now, the growing question for investigators and the general public is whether President Biden himself was in on this, or at the very least aware of it. Indirectly, it appears that Biden's position did play a role in helping his son secure deals. For example, when he was vice president, Joe took Hunter with him on a trip to Asia on Air Force Two, which included a stop in Shanghai, where Hunter was attempting to open a private equity firm. Just 10 days after that visit, Hunter secured a highly sought-after Chinese business license that allowed him to set up a fund there, something notoriously difficult for U.S. businessmen to secure. Then in 2014, despite having no experience in the energy sector, Hunter infamously scored a $1 billion a year gig with energy company at the time. Vice President Biden was in charge of America's Ukraine policy. The president has so far denied that either of those deals had anything to do with him, but new evidence seems to implicate him in some other stories as well. For example, one text message that was confirmed to be authentic last week showed Hunter in 2019 complaining that he had to give half his salary to his father. Peter Schweizer, the author of Red Handed, told the Daily Wire that implications are potentially criminal, as long as there's somebody to pursue the criminality of it, which the DOJ will not. Hunter Biden was getting money from these overseas deals. He was paying some of his father's monthly bills. He was also paying for things like renovations in his father's home in Delaware, etc. That's patently illegal in the United States. Politicians can't be subsidized by family members, and the fact that the money came from overseas, of course, means that that has further implications, he added. The DOJ investigation is also reportedly looking into the 2017 email that showed that Hunter's business partners outlining the proposed distribution for equity in the aforementioned Chinese company, saying that 10 held by H for the big guy. Now, see, that I'm a little bit concerned about because, well, it would depend when in 2017, but by 2017, there was a new president in town, so Biden himself was a private citizen and should have remained that way, but that's a different story. But Biden himself was a private citizen, so the 10%, it's crooked and corrupted, but did it violate federal law that would implicate Biden in office? Maybe not. But it's definitely something to look into. From the Blaze, emails from Hunter's laptop show that Biden wrote a letter of recommendation from one of Hunter's Chinese business associates. From Samuel Mangold Lenin. Hunter's infamous laptop continues to make waves following recent reports from the legacy media validating the authenticity of the contents. After obtaining emails containing correspondence between Hunter and his business associates involved in joint ventures with Chinese investment firms Bohai Capital and BHR, Fox News reported that in 2017, Joe Biden wrote a college letter of recommendation for the son of one of Hunter's business associates. The email, dated January 3rd, 2017, Jonathan Lee, the CEO of BHR, said, "Gentlemen, please find the attached resume of my son, Chris Lee. He is applying for the following colleges for this year." According to the email, Lee's son was applying to Brown Cornell New York University. Lee also attached the updated version of his son's CV in a subsequent email. In a subsequent email exchange, Hunter business associate Jim Bulger said, "Let's see how we can be helpful here to Chris." Several weeks later, in February of 2017, another business associate of Hunter's, Eric Schwerin, said to Lee, "Hunter asked me to send you a copy of the recommendation letter that he asked his father to write in behalf of Christopher for Brown. The original is being FedExed to Dr. Paxton directly at Brown." Schwerin said it should be there by Tuesday, and the latest, given Monday is a holiday here in the U.S., let us know if you have any questions. The recipient of the letter is the president of Brown University. In response to Schwerin's message, Lee replied, "Hey Eric, just see the email, it's just great. Thank you so much, and Hunter, thank you so much too, and best for all." It is reportedly unclear if Lee's son attended or was even admitted to Brown. When asked about these emails, Deputy Press Secretary Andrew Bates said, "We don't comment on the laptop." However, he did not deny the laptop's existence or repeat a previous claim from the White House that the laptop was Russian disinformation. Alright, let's have a listen to this one here. Excuse me.
Thank you, Jed. Two topics really quick. First, the president has said, and you have tweeted, that allegations of wrongdoing based on files pulled from Hunter Biden's laptop are Russian disinformation. There is a new book by a Politico reporter that finds some of the files on there are genuine. Is the White House still going with Russian disinformation?
I think it's broadly known and widely known, Peter, that there was a broad range of Russian disinformation back in 2020.
I was really hoping that clip was going to be longer, but yeah, and they keep trying to go down with this idea that this was all just some sort of Russian disinformation campaign, but you know, they've got nothing on this and they know it. So that's what we see off of that from the New York Post, and we are running on it. We'll get through the Biden stuff, I think. I do think we'll get through that. Maybe the rest of this list not so much, but we'll get through the that stuff for sure. Joe Biden sticking to claim that he and Hunter never talked about foreign business, according to red-haired bobblehead. White House Press Secretary red-haired bobblehead said Tuesday that President Brandon still maintains he never discussed overseas business deals with his son, despite significant and growing evidence to the contrary. The president has said he never spoke with his son about his overseas dealings. Is that still the case? Peter Doocy asked Bobblehead at her daily press briefing. Yes, Bobblehead replied tersely, affirming that Biden stands by the 2019 claim that he'd never spoken with his son about his overseas business dealings. The answer concluded an extended dialogue between Bobblehead and Doocy, focused on reporting from the Washington Post and New York Times that belatedly verified emails from the laptop formerly belonging to Hunter Biden, which the Post first reported in October of 2020. Let's see if we can refresh this and get the video of that, because it looks like it's trying to play here, but it won't go.
Hunter Biden surfacing this week. So, to ensure the independence of the investigation, would the president support the appointment of a special counsel?
Well, first, the president has never had a conversation with the Department of Justice about any investigations into any member of his family. He said that during the campaign, and he will continue to abide by that. So I'd point you to the Department of Justice for any additional steps they would take. They would make those decisions independently.
Is there any concern that they're not going to be necessarily seen as being able to make the decisions independently if the White House Chief of Staff is out saying that the president is confident his son did not break the law?
Well, that's something the president has said, and certainly we would echo. But in the same answer to that question, Peter, during an interview this week on ABC, Ron Klain also said the Justice Department is independent and they will make their own decisions.
And the president has said that he never spoke to his son about his overseas business dealings. Is that still the case?
Yes.
So that's again what's being said about this, and they're maintaining, which, I mean, that is Jen Psaki's job, is to lie for the presidency. That was what McEnany's job was. That's what Sanders' job was. That's what all the press secretaries for Obama, that's what their job was. That's what it was for Bush. That is the press secretary's job, is to lie to make the administration look good. It's been going back as long as there have been press secretaries. Let's see, from the Daily Wire. Biden's son and brother had 150-plus transactions involving global business flagged as concerning by U.S. banks. Report. From Ryan Saavedra. President Brandon's son Hunter and his brother Jim had scores of transactions involving global businesses that were allegedly flagged as concerning by U.S. banks, according to a new report. CBS has just learned that more than 150 transactions involving either Hunter or James's global business affairs were flagged as concerning by U.S. banks for further review. CBS News investigative reporter Catherine Herridge said some of these concerns including large wire transfers. Grassley told CBS News that he believes that Biden's brother was a key part of Hunter's business ventures inside Communist China, saying, "I think Jim was very much a part of this." This week, Grassley released bank records indicating Jim's company, the Lion Hall Group, was paid directly by a Chinese finance consulting firm. Herridge said, "In our interview, Grassley did not allege the Bidens broke the law, but he said it's concerning that both Hunter and Jim were promised retainers for their China work totaling $165,000 a month in 2017 after Biden left the presidency." We have people with the Biden name, we got some video with that too, dealing with Chinese business people that have relationships to the Communist Party, Grassley said. "I think it's very concerning." This 2019 subpoena verified by CBS News shows federal investigators also sought Hunter and Jim's business records from a major U.S. bank dating back to 2014 as part of a separate probe by the U.S. attorney in Delaware, and possibly the violations of tax and foreign lobbying laws, Herridge added.
CBS News has learned that more than 150 transactions involving either Hunter or James Biden's global business affairs were flagged as concerning by U.S. banks for further review. Some of those concerns included large wire transfers.
This is the way it is.
After a nearly 3-year investigation, Republican Senator Chuck Grassley told CBS News he believes the president's younger brother James was instrumental in Hunter Biden's Chinese business ventures.
I think James Biden was very much a part of this.
James Biden has worked as an entrepreneur and recently in the healthcare industry.
We will focus on James Biden, the president's brother.
This week, Grassley released bank records indicating James Biden's company, the Lion Hall Group, was paid directly by a Chinese finance consulting firm.
These records come directly from the banks, no third party.
You're absolutely right.
In our interview, Grassley did not allege the Bidens broke the law, but he said it's concerning that both Hunter and James Biden were promised retainers for their China work totaling $165,000 a month in 2017 after Joe Biden left the vice presidency.
We have people with the Biden name dealing with Chinese business people that have a relationship through the Communist Party. I think it's very concerning.
This 2019 subpoena, verified by CBS News, shows federal investigators also sought Hunter and James Biden's business records from a major U.S. bank dating back to 2014 as part of a separate probe by the U.S. attorney in Delaware into possible violations of tax and foreign lobbying laws.
I think Hunter and James Biden should not have entered into those relationships. In the best case, those things look really bad. In the worst case, the conflicts can be quite serious.
The White House chief of staff said this week that the president is...
So, definitely some questions to be had. Again, I don't know if there is anything to look at for this. I honestly don't. But definitely I have some questions. I have some questions indeed. So we'll see what happens with that. Here's a shock for you. And by the way, make sure you guys are, if you're lurking right now, getting some last-minute messages in, because we are about to shift gears and move over to the live chat, but there are a couple more that I want to make sure that we touch on before we head out of here for the day. Hopefully Fanning gets back by the end of the show. I don't know if he's going to, because he usually spends 20 to 25 minutes on the subway. From Fox, Teachers Union spends more on Dem causes than its own members, analysis finds. Shocked Pikachu face. Shocking. From Ron Blitzer. The new analysis of the National Education Association's spending shows that in 2020 to 2021, the Teachers Union spent a fraction of its money on representing members and more than double that amount on political activities. According to the data compiled by the Americans for Fair Treatment, 17.6% of the NEA's spending went to political activities and lobbying, with just 8.6% going to representational activity. Well, I have more questions, because that's only 26.2% of their funding. Political activities also accounted for more spending than employee benefits, which made up 15.1% of the organization's expenditures. Okay, so that brings us up to 41.2, or 41.3, I'm sorry. Which means that we have 58.7 that's still unaccounted for. I have questions. The NEA spent a total of $374 million during the 2020 to 2021 fiscal year. A mere 9% of the union spending was on representational activity or money that's spent directly to support its members. AFFT CEO David Osborne said in a statement, in contrast, 18% went to political activities, while another 32% went to contributions. Gifts and grants, spending that is also largely political in nature, those numbers show where their priorities lie. No shit, Sherlock. And one of the things that goes with that is what I said about the Amazon union. Now, I'm pretty sure that Bezos is still going to shut that facility down. But as far as I know right now, that is an actual grassroots union where a bunch of people got together, put some money together and said, hey, we're going to hire a lawyer and we are going to work to compromise and negotiate with Amazon for better wages and the ability to not get fired. But it's these big corporate unions like the NEA that are taking your money and donating it to Democrats. This is why I do not advocate for union work unless it is something where you and 5 of your friends who work for the business say, hey, you can't fire us all and still expect to work here, so let's come to some sort of an agreement here. By the way, we bought a lawyer together too. We bring in $1 million a year, or what, 374 million? We bring in $1 billion a year in dues, and this is what we're going to do for you. Enjoy your 10-cent raise. Because that is what they're doing. And this is what, by the way, when you hear AOC Biscuit come out there and tell you, well, we are going to make all these great new jobs all across the country, and they're all going to be union jobs. Every one of them is going to be union jobs. And we're going to make it illegal to work if you're not in a union. Because the union's going to take that money back out of your pocket, out of your wallet, and donate it back to people like AOC Biscuit. Just like the NEA is doing right now. And nobody is shocked by this. Oh, what do we want to get to yet? I think we're going to spend some more time on these ones on Monday because there's some more. Let's do some catch-up ones here quick. I think we will do this one, and this one, and then we'll be done for the day. So get those last-minute messages in. From Fox 2, KTVU, with a wind advisory. Sacramento mass shooting, 2 brothers arrested after 6 dead and 12 injured from KTVU staff. A second suspect has now been arrested in connection with the mass Sacramento shooting that claimed 6 lives and injured 12 people. On Tuesday, Sacramento police said they arrested 27-year-old Smiley Martin, who was injured during the early Sunday morning of violence at 10 and K Streets in the downtown area. It appears as though he was one of the dozen who suffered injuries. Police said once he recovers, he will be booked in the Sacramento County Main Jail for possession of a firearm by a prohibited person and possession of a machine gun. So he broke 2 laws, so we need more laws. Is that what you're saying? Because he follows the letter of the law so much. More laws would have prevented this. As of Tuesday morning, Smiley was not found in the Sacramento jail, as he was still in the hospital. Police did not provide a photo of him. Smiley is the older brother of Dondre Martin, 26, who was arrested Monday as a related suspect to the shooting, booked on suspicion of assault with a deadly weapon, and being a convict carrying a loaded gun. Look at all these laws that these great citizens follow. Detectives and SWAT team members found 1 handgun during searches of 3 area homes. The other younger brother is expected to be arraigned in court on Tuesday. Neither brother has formally been charged by the Sacramento District Attorney. Both brothers have criminal past records from Arizona and California show. Dondre was freed from an Arizona prison in 2020 after serving just over 1.5 years for violating probation in a separate case involving a felony conviction for aggravated assault in 2016 and a conviction on a marijuana charge in 2018. Court records show that he pleaded guilty to punching, kicking, and choking a woman in a hotel room when she refused to work for him as a prostitute. Well, this gentleman sounds charming. So, that's what we see coming off that. It does appear as well that one of these 2 members, and it's not clear in this article, had been out on an earlier release as well. That he'd been put up for 10 years and he served 1.5 years. So, there's something to think about with that. But, I mean, look at all these laws that these people followed. From the Associated Press. Sacramento shooting was a gunfight among gang rivals. From Adam Beam and Brian Melly. The mass killing that left 6 people dead and 12 wounded at outside bars just blocks from California's capital city last weekend was a gunfight involving at least 5 shooters from rival gangs, Sacramento police said on Wednesday. Police said they identified at least 5 gunmen there, but there may have been more. Only 2 suspects, both brothers wounded by gunfire, have been arrested in connection with the shooting, and so far only face firearms charges. We're still working through who the actual shooters were in this case, said Sergeant Zach Eaton. Until Wednesday's announcement, police had been silent on what led to the shooting that erupted early Sunday as bars were letting out. Rapid-fire bursts of over 100 gunshots echoed through the streets as terrified patrons ran for their lives and other people were hit by bullets. Police said at least 2 gangs were involved. They declined to provide any more details or name the gangs involved or the affiliation of any suspects because this is a gun crime involving gang violence, which means that this is probably going to fall off the radar. This might stick around for just a little bit more because this involved white people getting killed, but for the most part, this is all gang violence. And what do we know about gun violence with gang violence? It doesn't get reported on. There you go. Alright. And the last one that I want to do here today, and we'll get to the rest of this over on Monday. From the Daily Wire, writes New York Times memo tells staff to meaningfully reduce Twitter usage, stresses ban on publicly attacking colleagues. From Tim Pierce. The New York Times, a former newspaper, announced the new social media guidance for its staff Thursday, discouraging them from using Twitter and reiterating that attacking colleagues directly or indirectly in public is not allowed. Former newspaper executive editor Dean Bacquet explained the updated guidance billed as Twitter Reset in an email to staff. BackWet said the New York Times is overhauling its approach to Twitter to scale back the emphasis the outlet places on its journalists being engaged online. We can rely too much on Twitter as a reporting or feedback tool, which is especially harmful to our journalism when our feeds become echo chambers because, well, Twitter bans anybody who puts up news stories that don't come from their approved sources. We can become overly focused on how Twitter will react to our work to the detriment of our mission and independence. Independence. We can make off-the-cuff responses that damage our journalistic reputations, which you have none of anymore, and for too many of you, your experience of Twitter is shaped by harassment and attacks, BackWet wrote. It's clear that we need to reset our stance on Twitter for the newsroom, so we're making some changes. The updated Twitter policy comes days after the news broke that co-founder Elon Musk of Tesla bought nearly 10% of the Twitter stock and secured a spot on the social media giant's board of directors, sparking some debate over the future direction of the company. Musk has been an outspoken critic of Twitter's censorious policies and claimed in recent weeks that the social media giant is the de facto public town square. BackWet said that in the email that maintaining the presence on Twitter is now purely optional for New York Times staff. For those staff who choose to stay connected on Twitter, the New York Times now asked the staff to meaningfully reduce social media usage to avoid trapping themselves in a social media echo chamber, as well as cut down on online harassment and abuse. He also announced new support structures for those staff dealing with online harassment. I don't know where to go with this, and I don't even know what's actually happening with this, but this seems to be an undersized way to come back out and say, well, social media is not going to go our way anymore, so you're going to have to deal with either being harassed or you're going to go out and start harassing people online, and you're blowing our name. So there you go. Meaningfully reduce your Twitter usage, which I mean a lot of you should do anyway, and I'm no exception. I should as well. All right, with that, we are done. We're not going to do any more news for the day. We are going to strictly look in at the live chat and see what you guys are saying here, because that's the most important part of the day and the most important part of the week. So let's scroll back up to the top. Let's hope Fanning gets back here too, by the way. Let's see what we've already missed here. Helton says, I thought racism was already gone in this country, but then they appointed a Marxist judge to the court based on her skin color, not her fidelity to the Constitution and common sense. You think the Supreme Court upholding the illegal and unconstitutional ACA was bad? Hate to see what's in store for us if the commies have more mail-in elections. Well, no, the mail-in elections are perfect and secure, and you don't have to worry about mail-in voting at all. In fact, the most secure election in history was done almost entirely by mail, and the correct candidate got 81 million votes and honk honk and 10 scoops of ice cream, and nothing bad happened. All right, let's see what happened throughout the week. Got a new name in here that's been here almost every day. I don't think he showed up on Thursday, but every other day he showed up in the chat, so we'll have to thank you for that. But we have Ron Helton on Monday, Spartan 0000, Superior 1, Quest Fanning, Sully Blue, Arvolt 24, who mostly lurks, Gaines, A Gaines P, Frank Frijoles, which was a new name this week, and somebody who's, again, been here almost, he's here now, or it was at the top of the show anyway. Welcome in, Frank Frijoles, and hope you like our community. Thanks for joining us over on the D-Live side. MK Ultra was here, and High Leaf 11 was here as well. On Tuesday, we had Ron Helton, Quest Fanning, Randy Crush Saga, Frank Frijoles again, MK Ultra, 1953, Arvolt, A Gaines P, and H65 de Gremendor, which I think might have been a bot, but it still got picked up by the Restream bot over on Restream. Wednesday, our chatters were Randy Crush Saga, Quest Fanning, Ron Helton, Frank Frijoles, A Gaines P, Arvolt, Nailbender joined us briefly, and MK Ultra 1953 as well. Yesterday was a busy day. We had a bunch of you guys come in here yesterday. which I thought was pretty cool. We even had Fritzcast join us for a little bit yesterday. But yesterday gave us Ron Helton, Frank Frijoles, Arbolt, Randy Crush Saga, High Leaf, 11, MK Ultra. I haven't seen Chilaga at all this week. Somebody make sure Chilaga's still alive. We like Chilaga around here. Let's see. Lenny 1058, who says that I must be a very, very fair and open-minded. Would love to have a discussion in the live chat on the air. Which I said no. Actually, I didn't say anything because I didn't interact with the chat yesterday. Quest Fanning, Fritzcast was here. Fritzcast podcast. Go check that out, by the way. Fortress America 1776, who joined us on the Twitch side too, by the way. I saw the join. Link there. Spartan 0000 Superior 1 and A Gains P. Let's finish out with what's going on today. Frank Frijoles, like I said, is here with the cat emoji. The cat is a bad bitch. Morning, work and listen. Thank you, Frank Frijoles, for that. Sully Blue says, hello, puppets, with more cat emojis. Sully Blue is ready. That's what the cat with the sunglasses says. And the other cat smoking a bong. Sully Blue says, I love omelets and fried rice, so I'm going to be paying. Yeah, I got to go get some more, because I do. In the morning, I do what's called an egg cup. An ex-girlfriend actually introduced it to me. It's basically I took a dozen eggs and put them in the stand mixer and mixed them up until they were nice and uniform. And then in a bunch of muffin tins, I put some, this time I did bacon, so I used some cubed bacon, some cheese and a little bit of onion, and then I poured the mixture over the top of them and baked them until they weren't jiggly anymore. And then I can just yank them out of the microwave, or out of the fridge in the morning, 3 at a time, and microwave them, and I'm out the door and ready to go to work. In a very, very, very quick manner. Ron Helton says, I noticed eggs were less than $1 at Aldi's before this bird flu started. I went there last week and they were $1.80 something. The other grocery store I had them for over $3. I noticed that many people were not many people were grabbing eggs at that price. Don't you get eggs at home though, Ron? I thought you had a bunch of chickens to do that. Unless the avian flu got them. Fear the avian flu. Ron Heltz says, virtual signaling racist. Look at me. I appointed a black woman because she is black and a woman. Hey, look, we're not racist. We appointed a black woman. That's all I see from this nonsense. She is a terrible pick. Most qualified pick in history, though. Randy says, I wonder what the time limit is on pre-approving a justice. Well, they actually usually, under most normal circumstances, they'll have the justice announce retirement early on in the term and then actually work to get somebody seated there right away. So they don't go for a very long time, if at all, with an empty seat, with an even number of people on the court. So what we're seeing right now is actually the normal procedure, but what we got out of the Trump admin and prior was the abnormal procedure. Like, what happened there was what Ruth Bader Ginsburg should have done under the Obama admin. So, that's that. Ron Helton asks, is Karis constantly high? Probably. Ron says, yeah, that's what they would be saying if it was a conservative judge who had announced his retirement. Randy says, well, they were filling an empty slot, so what's the legality of pre-approving? Well, like I said, that's actually the normal procedure is to pre-approve. That's usually what they do, is pre-approve. What if they actually had to wait for him to retire before they filled the slot? Then chaos would ensue. And that's part of the reason that he did this early, too, is because I'm pretty positive that he knows that the midterms are going to be a slaughter in the Senate. Arvolt is here and is lurking. But is she really a black woman? I'm not a biologist. Crest Fanning says the Don't Say Black bill. Ron Hout says Joe the Big Guy Biden and Phila Dave and Filibuster. Randy says he didn't want the Supreme Court to become a racial jungle. Fanning says, why does Biden's middle name sound like a Motown girl band? The Robinettes. Ron says, the real story of Corn Bob is that Biden pissed his pants. Ron says, and the jabs don't work, so what the hell is she talking about? The jabs are safe and effective and work perfectly, and everybody should have all of them, and 25 boosters, a booster every day, to make sure that you don't get the coronavirus, and Pfizer definitely gets a bunch of money. The jabs are perfectly safe and acceptable. Randy says, remember when the COVID started and walking down the same aisle in a store with someone with COVID could cause you to catch it? Or McDonald's employee, yes, thanks A Gaines P. A Gaines P has joined us. Ron Helton says, not all the LP is for open borders. People should be allowed to move freely, but still have control of how many people you allow to move here. Otherwise, you end up with billions of people stacked on top of each other here. No, that is actually not true. And this is coming from hosting a show with a person who is LP royalty for a little bit over a year. And that is the fact that, no, the LP is absolutely open borders. Freedom of movement, open borders, no regulation, because regulation is violence. And I'm not even joking. That's actually what was said to me. Regulation is violence. Quest Fanning says, I still don't get what the broad brush of Belarus is about. They support Russia, and Orban is a dictator, but they don't have boots on the ground, do they? They were the staging area for the Russian military, and yes, they do have boots on the ground as well. Randy says, is Chuck Schumer saying that we're not going to trade with Israel anymore? No, he's definitely not saying that. He is definitely not saying we're not going to trade with Israel anymore. Quest Fanning says, Lendley, sweetheart prices too. Ron says, I don't know why Belarus is still not part of Russia. They had some hard battles fought during the World War II against Germany. Kind of like the Germans invading France, where there wasn't a Majona line by Belgium, less protected side. I guess I don't understand that reference. Maginot. I'll have to look up and see what that means, because I have no idea. Randy says, you know what helped stop Hitler? Teaming up with the Russians. Ron says, yeah, that didn't work well against modern combat tactics, airborne troops, and tanks that could penetrate those dragon's teeth. Free Ross Ulbricht. Jar Jar missiles, says Quest Fanning. Randy says, you got it twisted. They're not sending people to die. They're sending bombs to kill. It's much better that way, somehow. Let's see, what else do we have here? Ron says the Ukrainians are using their own people as shields and then blaming the Russians if there are deaths. Ron says Ukraine cannot win this war on their own. This is a waste of lives and treasure. They should not have violated the neutral treaty with Russia and not been murdering Eastern Ukrainians. I actually heard that didn't happen, and that was all Putin's fault. Everything in this is Putin's fault. Everything in the world is Putin's fault. Randy says it would have been amazing if Psaki had pointed out that the WHO said that asymptomatic spread is basically non-existent in every known virus. Ron says, and actually the same thing I say, I think they're trying real hard to create another mail-in election with this virus. Randy says, can we at least not count votes that came from non-residential addresses and overpasses this time? No, that would be racist. We have to count the votes that come from overpasses. Ron says, I could not get into Discord to post a link to the WAPO article where they stated that Brandon got thousands of illegitimate votes in key swing states, because that actually isn't true, because he didn't. Because most secure election history, Hong Kong, 81 million votes, 10 scoops of ice cream. Could not have been a stolen election, 10 scoops of ice cream, most secure in history. Don't ban me, Susan. Randy says, oh yeah, I forgot the votes came from voters registered at the median in the street. There you go. Now you're thinking like a Democrat. A Gains P says, I bet it's the LGBTQI hashtag greater than 8XOZZZ crowd that's upset. I like that. That's funny. They're pissed about the name of a telescope. Ron says the diver probably had a record. Never thought to research that deeper. How else could Musk have won? Probably. That's probably true. Ron says, how dumb do you have to be to impersonate the residing mafia's gang members? Quest Fanning says clout, and they're very sacky. Randy says, here's what you need to know. They will verify that he in fact broke the laws, but no charges will be made. Correct. Ron says, or put him in the Witless Protection Program. Fanning says, doesn't the big guy get 50%? I thought it was 10%, but it might be 50. Fanning had to head out to the subway, so thank you for that. Ron says, pretty sure it was Biden that paid for the golden shower, not Trump. 2016 election stolen. Nope. 2020. Yep. No, you have that backwards. The 2016 election was stolen by Putin, who is the root of all evil, and has caused every problem in history from now until eternity. The 2020 was the most secure election in history. Nothing bad happened. Biden is more popular than Obama. 81 million votes, 10 scoops of ice cream, Hong Kong. Yep, turnip, golden shower, nope. Randy says, forget having incriminating stuff on it. Even the business contacts and deals that were on the laptop was worth more than worth not leaving it behind. Crazy, stupid thing to do. Ron says, the Bidens have trouble adapting to the information age and don't understand that how they keep getting caught with their lies from recordings. Randy says, the FBI already declared the laptop was legit. That means it wasn't Russian disinformation. No, it could still be Russian disinformation. Because it says devastating things about Democrats. It could still be Russian disinformation. Dangerous Russian disinformation, even. Let's see. Didn't they find a video of him literally telling a story about talking to Hunter about business deals? That was a deep fake that was put on by Putin. Ron says, I've looked with no luck for photos taken of the munitions and captured Iraqi warehouses from the Gulf War Blunder 1 that clearly show markings on the crate for the UK and the US. Pretty sure from the markings that those were chemical weapons rounds. Well, Iraq and Saudi Arabia had weapons of mass destruction as well. The mainstream media told us that, which means that we had to go into there and occupied the countries for dozens of years. WMDs was a thing. The man on the TV told me so. Randy says, remember when Trump posted that picture with the Nickelback song? Remember this photograph? Every time I do it makes me laugh. What the hell was on Joey's head anyway? Randy says, it sounds like something, but I bet that 99% of those were just standard practices. Chilaga is here. He's lurking. There he is. We have signs of light from Chilaga 1984. A Gaines P says, I worked for the railroad for 15 years, was a member of both the UTU, United Transport Union, and the BLET, Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Teamsters. Unions suck. I have been a part of the UFCA twice. Union of Food and Commercial, UFCW twice. Once working in a grocery store and once working at a particular auto shop that was attached to a diesel shop rather, that was attached to a factory. And because of the factory connection, had to have a union membership to it. And yeah, the unions did absolutely nothing. But at the time, it was a paying gig, and I needed money. Ron says, yep, unions protect workers who don't pull their own weight and make those who do have to work harder. Unions are bad. And again, I don't necessarily have a problem with unions like what they have in Staten. I don't have as much of a problem with that because it's people who have put their own money into this. They're not being backed by one of these gigantic commercial unions out there that is making money hand over fist while they drive up in the brand new Corvette and congratulate the workers on the 10-cent raise per hour that they got. It's not that kind of union. And honestly, the kind of union that they have in Staten Island at the Amazon plant, in spite of the fact that it's going to be short-lived because that plant is going to get shut down, in spite of that, what I do have to say to that is the people that are in that union do have a stake in what's going on. They do have a stake in the situation. It's not a situation where they're just out here coming out and saying, oh, well, we don't even see the money coming out of our paychecks because payroll takes it out, but give us free stuff. It's more of a, hey, we've actually physically, consciously invested money into this. Let's make a deal. Which is what the union should have been from the beginning, but it's enterprising entrepreneurs who want to give money from somebody else to Democrat causes found a way to infiltrate it. Gaines says the LP is wrong about borders. I know a large number of members who disagree with that plank. I do too, but again, it's the royalty that's in there, the people who are appointing the presidential nominees, because remember, for a libertarian party, they don't take the will of the voter into effect. A board selects their members. They don't have primaries where you go out and vote for them. And if they do, it doesn't matter because somebody just goes up and appoints a college professor that nobody's ever heard of before. And yes, according to them, and I'm not exaggerating when I hear this, any sort of border regulation is violence. And it needs to be stopped. That is, again, that's not me trolling them. That is actually what was told to me. I am being dead serious about that. And I looked at that and I'm like, what? Are you serious? And then when I actually sat down and talked to Elaine about that, and I expressed my reason for why I will never be an open borders person like she is, because she is very open borders, and I said, look, I'm not like Stephen Ignoramus, I'm not like Seawall. Sorry guys, I love you guys, I love you both, but we got to call this one out here. I'm not like these guys where I say, just pause all immigration unless it comes from Poland or Slovakia, or in Seawall's case, Japan. where it's only white people get to come here. I want anybody who comes through and goes through the proper channels to have the opportunity to live here. Open the border to anybody who will come up and go through the proper channels. But as far as throw the border wide open with no regulation whatsoever, if you import the entire third world all at once, which by the way is what you are going to do, and at the same time simultaneously do away with minimum wage, which is also a plank to the libertarian platform, you are going to be left with a country where nobody can afford to breathe. It is purely financial. And yes, I know other people who look at this as a purely racial thing. I don't care about that. It is purely financial why I want to have that border closed. Alright, Fanning is back. Ron Helton says Hornbeck was the better candidate. Jorgensen, the Marxist, was a bad pick. Well, not according to the board. She was the perfect pick because she was a woman. They could say, I'm with her. Ron Helton will get last word off of this and say, some of these LP members do not have any principles, in my opinion. They seem to be grasping for the perfect combination to win an election while sacrificing any principles they might have had. And that's it. That's the end. We're done. What a week. What a weird week. Some slow days, some fast days. We, of course, still have some spillover coming back out of here, so we'll take care of that on Monday. But it's not as big as some weeks have been, especially with a lot of the Ukraine conflict out there. So it's been a week. We've had a bunch of stuff happening here. So we are going to head out of here for the day. So I am off all next week, but we're still going to try to hold to the time clock because I do have some stuff I'm doing throughout the next week. I will be, for the most part, sitting right here in this desk, either looking and seeing what the news stories pop up with, or listening to and reading with my nose in the textbook because it's done. It's time. I cannot continue to go down the road that I'm working on without having some property, obviously, which means side hustle time. So we're getting the license for that. And on top of everything else, we are also working on getting ourselves to a point where, hey, we can go start turning some money off here and getting away from the full schedule job that I have right now, doing 40 hours a week, plus doing 20 hours a week doing this stuff. So I am pursuing a real estate license aggressively, starting tomorrow. No, I'm not going to do it tomorrow at noon. Tomorrow at noon, I'm going to get back here and do a marathon Fallout 4 session because I'm not going to touch a video game for the entire time that I'm here as well. But we'll be back here on Monday for more contemporary. We'll be back here on Monday for KTZed Redemption. Both of those are going off without a hitch in spite of everything else that I'm doing. So come back and join us for that. It's going to be a great time. We will be back here every morning for contemporary because in spite of the fact that I am going to be sitting here studying, you guys still expect me to be here every morning, so we will be here every morning. Definitely looking forward to that. We will see you next time, though. Next time you are here. Thanks, everybody, for the chats. Thanks, everybody, for the donations you guys that have done, for the follows, for the subs, for the gift subs, for everything else out here. Stick around if you're on the Twitch side. We are going rating, and we will see you next time over here on Contemporary. Until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.